It's what we think will appease people or what we think will make people happy.
What is my overall just like purpose and passion and life without defining it by my job?
When I say it was hard, like it was hard. It was a challenge.
I don't know who I am. I don't know what I'm supposed to do now. You're listening to episode 7 of Apology Void.
Welcome and good morning and good afternoon.
Good morning. Welcome back. I'm just gonna keep saying good morning no matter what time it is here.
It just works for me because it's always morning when we record.
You know, and I'm not gonna blame you today because you're a little sniffly and sicky Sal.
Sicky Sal today, not too bad, but a bit. My voice just sounds sexier today, that's all.
You know, it sounds like a half octave higher than when we started our conversation, so
Oh, good.
that's good. You sound more normal. It's like we warmed up a little.
Warmed up my vocal cords. Anyway, yeah, so we're not 100% today, but that's okay. We're here for it. We need to record the episodes, and it's not going to get in my way.
No, absolutely not.
No.
Your brain is still functioning. You've still got a voice to speak. Like, we're doing great here.
I mean, it's probably better than last week.
You're not like on a fever ramble or anything, so I think we're okay.
No, we're not. We're good. No.
We're fine.
Well, I'm not going to identify as someone who's sick.
That is not the identifier I choose today.
No one's going to get that yet, because this week we're talking about identity.
Identity.
How we define ourselves. You know, some of those, I'm going to say, should and shouldn't do in that identity process.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an extension. It's like an extension of the words conversation we had in our last episode, because they're the words we use to define ourselves within this world and to ourselves. They're the words we use to, create the picture of who we are. A lot of times when you first meet somebody, they ask, "What do you do? Tell me about yourself." And without clear-cut identifiers, like, that's kind of hard.
And I was going to say that, what we say to other people too, because when people ask you what you do, I'll be honest, I actually don't like that question.
Yeah.
Why do we ask people, like, "Hi, I'm not saying what do you do," rather than something related to them as a person?
Yeah.
Right? Like we talked about this bit last week, but as a society, we sort of like tunnel people into these identities of like what they do rather than who they are. And we don't, it's just natural. Like it just comes natural, like the words, it just, we don't mean to do it.
Yeah.
So I actually try not to use that.
That's smart. That's super smart.
Is that try word?
We're working on that. We're gonna get rid of that try this year and replace it with, I use, direct speech things.
We're taking our own advice.
Precisely. That's it. That's it. Yeah, I really feel like when you ask what somebody does, it strips them of so much of who they are. And so I try to ask the question, or not even ask the question, just say, "Tell me a little about yourself. Tell me something. What do you like to do outside of work?"
Yeah.
That's another one that I like to ask rather than "what do you do?" Because I feel like that is just so connected to job and financial wealth and power and position. And I don't like it. I don't love it. And I think it really strips someone of so much else of who they are.
I understand. And we talked about this in the episode about expectations. And I touched on that, my own journey where I became like what I wanted to be and then had to break free from that. And that was really difficult. That was sort of, we spoke about that a little bit and we can delve more into today. But people will offer that up. Like if you go to someone and you're saying, like, "Tell me a bit about yourself," we will offer up, or people will offer up what they do as a living, because somewhere along the line, that is what has been accepted to identify yourself by.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think and we have to be careful to do that. We have to be careful to identify ourselves as, like, if you identify, if your identity is your job, that then becomes your whole thing. And if something happens, or if we're forced to change, or we want to change, or anything, it can be more difficult to do that when we make that our identity. And I've
Yeah.
experienced that. So
I'm,
mm, a
that's
lot of
been
people
my,
have, saying a lot,
yeah,
but
that's been my entire last year. Like,
yeah.
my entire last, well, couple years have been upending my entire identity,
Mm,
or those words that have identified my profession, my location, my familial role, my so many different things have just gone out the window or
mm,
changed rather quickly. When I got the call that they were getting rid of my position at a hospital, it wasn't just the loss of a job, it was the loss of a piece of my identity. And it was a huge grieving moment
mm,
because I was no longer a practicing music therapist. I no longer had clients. I no longer had an entire community. And then I moved. I was no longer an Illinois resident. I now live in a different state. And, the other pieces I just got off stage. So I'm no longer a performing musician, which has been a part of my what do you do my entire life.
mm,
And to step away from those things, I have had to just like grieve because they are how I had rooted myself for so long. And I've had to find other other parts of who I actually am. Like, what am I underneath all of that? What am I deeper than being on stage? What am I deeper than the work I do, than the connection I have with other people? Like, what do I do that is not
mm,
work? What is my overall just like purpose and passion and life without defining it by my job?
mm, mm.
And my gosh, it's been a process. I'm not going to lie. It has been quite the process to get to the point where I can say, I'm a connector of people.
Yeah, that's
I'm,
great.
I'm a creator.
Mm. And there really
I'm,
is grief involved in that change, like you
yeah,
mentioned, really. And I think when you have an experience, like if someone has experienced that, you kind of feel stupid
yeah,
when you're experiencing the grief. Like I remember thinking to myself, when I made some decision to leave the job, and actually I want to say two things sort of consecutively here, that I remember watching your stories when after your last gig, right? Like the grief was so evident in your stories, and it was a good process. Like watching that process, I know that all of it wasn't on social. There was a lot behind the scenes as well, but it, you kind of understood it. I feel like regardless, or even though you were going through the grief, you did understand and were able to know that things will get better, or that your identity was already kind of changing. When you don't have an understanding of that, like when I left, and I'm saying this because our listeners, if you have experienced or currently or are scared, I thought that things would change instantly. Like I thought that I would feel great when I change. Like, I know, ignorant, so ignorant. I was like, it's going to be like this. Like I'll feel amazing. I'm leaving the job. I don't really like it. I'm going to feel excellent instantly. Then when I didn't feel excellent, that was almost worse. So like
yeah,
the grief of the change, the not knowing who I was, the identity crisis, and then the expectation of, yay, it's going to be amazing. And then it wasn't. It was like a flood. Like it was coming at me, you know?
yeah.
So I
It's a
think
whole
that's important
series.
too. Yeah.
It's a whole
So if you're
series of
scared,
emotions.
like totally relate. and it's really normal to feel scared. I was actually reading this book. I was actually listening and reading. So I read and then I listen to chapters in the car sometimes. This book, and it's called Get Out of Your Own Way. And he was talking about, like you just mentioned, you identify as a connector of people. That is so perfect, and it relates to what he was talking about. So if you are, he used the example, if you're like a CEO, right, of a company or whatever, and then rather than say like your identity is not I'm a CEO, because if you lose that job, that's where the grief and that process starts. You are, perhaps you could say like I'm a leader with great influence, because that can apply to many roles. Like that can apply to many, many things.
Yeah.
I don't know, just putting that out there.
No, I love it. As opposed to saying that I was like the owner of a specific business, I say that I'm an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
I am a creative person.
Mm-hmm.
I explore. I try new things. Like that so much more summarizes who I am and what I do rather than pigeonholing myself into a specific job.
Mm.
You know, the first time, not first time, one of the major times I went through this identity crisis was, I brought it up a couple times, but was my divorce. Like I had rooted myself in the role of wife, in the role of homeowner, in the role of like dog mom. It was
Mm-hmm.
so much of my identity was attached to this other person that I felt lost. I went to create my first apartment, and I remember my sister went shopping with me and she's like, "What do you want?" And I said, "I don't know. I I don't know who I am. Like I don't know
Mm.
like what I want at all." And so we literally walked around the store just seeing what I was drawn to and what pieces like pulled me in personally, because I had never thought of myself outside of a family role or a partnership or a sister role or as like a person. Like I was
Mm.
my own person with my own space, with my own things. It was the first time I was going to be just living by myself, identifying my entire space. And we landed on a piece that I still have, which is a really beautiful white marble Lazy Susan.
Oh my God, this is cute.
It's adorable, but it also is so functional and it's cozy and homey and artsy, and it was everything, and it encompassed the feeling that I wanted to embody in everything that I did. And I felt like that is where I started to find my identity, was not in my roles with other people, but in how I wanted to feel inside myself.
Mm.
That was magical.
Yeah, that's great. And I just want, like, I feel that it's important to say that you and I have been through big journeys on this
Yeah.
topic. Like, we're,
Yes.
this is probably not for two people to come together randomly and both have experienced a journey and change of identity. It's not really normal. It's normal, air quotes. But I just want to say to the listeners that if this is something that maybe you're grappling with at the moment, or that you want to change, but again, scared or fearful of identity, it sounds like it's been really easy. Like we're talking about it like it's chill. Like, oh, we did this and it was like, oh yeah, it was really hard. I'm not really not saying that lightly. Like when I say, and I'm sure it's the same for you, when I say it was hard, like it was hard. It was a challenge, you know. So
Like,
if you want to, don't feel like it's like, oh, it's easy for you to say, you're really strong and confident and you can make those changes easily. Nah, no, no, no. We're speaking with the wisdom of hindsight here. This is something that has been ongoing and many changes. I don't know if it's the same for you. I only know sort of bits of your story, but for me, there was a couple of big changes, right? So anything subsequent to that is now easier to deal with because I understand what's coming or where that change or what I have to do or, understand the process, things like that. So if you feel as though your identity is like, I don't know, it may not be a job, anything, like whatever, and you want to change that, please know it isn't going to be just like a simple click your fingers and be done. It is a process. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just don't want people to feel like they start the change and then it's like, holy shit, this is way harder than like they'll make it out to be.
No, like when I say I had no idea what I wanted, like I was crying in the aisles of TJ Maxx looking for things to put in my kitchen. The amount of time I spent curled up in fetal position, literally sobbing, just going like, I don't know. I don't know who I am. I don't know what I'm supposed to do now. Like, I don't know what comes next. Like, who am I without these things?
Yeah, 100%.
And I think part of what I did just to even start that process was make a list of things about myself that I knew to be true no matter what. And things that I knew I loved no matter what. Places that brought me joy no matter what. Like, I just created this whole big jumbly mess in my notebook of things that made me smile that were not attached to jobs or other people.
Yeah, and that's perfect. That's a really good activity. Like just writing down even your values, like even what you value most. And I'm talking about like core values, right? Like really dig deep and go, okay, so what is my no matter what value, non-negotiable, like it would make me feel sick to go against this or something. Start to write those things down and you'll not, when you start the process, like you will know, like if you write down, honesty, whatever, like as a value, that means that no matter what, like, you would always have to be truthful, even in jobs and stuff. It's like, so having a job where you might have to be dishonest wouldn't work for you, things like that. So write them down. And also, I remember doing this activity once that the speaker, well, I was listening to this, we're at a conference and there was a speaker and listening, and she said, okay, write down 5 people that you admire or that you look up to, right? So we did that. And then it was like, I'm probably not doing it justice because it was a while ago, but like pick a couple of those people and then write down like the qualities that you see in them, that why you look up to them, right? And then we all sat with it and she was like, that's you. And I was like, I was sobbing, mate, like sobbing. I was like, that's who, like, that is me. Like, that's who I am. Like, it was amazing. And I wish I could do it justice. We could actually do this activity, but I can't. But yeah, it's just a good way to know. Because if you look up to something or you admire something, that's a good indication that that's something that you value, I guess is the point. So if you see someone as like, hardworking or, again, honest or reliable or some of those things that you like, that means that that's it's like who you want to be, but you wouldn't want to be that person unless you really identified with those values.
Yeah.
Is that coming across right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. Because I was like, I don't know if this is translating.
Am I saying the words?
Are they coming out? Words? It's just sounding worse and worse. Shouldn't sing it at the best of times, to be honest.
The ability
I am no singer.
You are a beautiful singer in my heart.
Oh, wow. So honesty is not one of your... No. Oh, so good. Anyway. I'm sure I sang, like I used to do performances for my parents, and sing and dance, and I'm sure they loved it. That was where, you know,
Did you really?
of course, didn't you not? Like
Oh
we
my
did like,
gosh. Oh.
of course, like my sisters and I would make up these like dances, and mum and dad would have been sitting there like, oh my God. But yeah, we used to do like performances, those reels that you see? That was literally us.
Did you ever do them in front of people?
100%.
Like on stage in front of your whole grade school or junior high?
Oh my God, stop. Well, okay. You've got a story here and I want to hear it. But something about me that you don't know, I actually did dancing when I was like actually right up until like I was about 18 or 19. So I won't say when I was a kid because I was actually like an adult. So I did a lot of performing, yes, on stage, but in like a troupe or a solo or whatever. But it wasn't
Wait, wait,
something I
wait.
just made up in my kitchen. We actually had choreographed routines and had to perform them, and you get judged and shit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What kinds of dance did you do?
When I was a kid, I did ballet and grew out of that real fast. I wasn't very good at that. Like jazz, hip hop mainly, a little bit of
Okay.
contemporary, but yeah, again, I'm not the best. I'm not really built for a contemporary slash ballet dancer. So jazz and hip hop is kind of my vibe.
I want to see like your jazz hip hop moves.
Oh God, it's been so long. But anyway, so the answer is yes, I did do them in front of my school and stuff, but not just like my little in my kitchen.
That's
But you
marvelous.
did, obviously.
You know, um, mm, NSYNC was really
Stop.
big,
It
and they had an
was.
incredible Christmas album, and they had the song "Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays." So we had like a grade school talent show, and I got together with two of my friends, and as I said in our last episode, I was not one of the popular kids. And we did a choreographed dance, snow is falling.
That's so cute.
Anyway, it was great. It was wonderful. I
Anyway, it
remember
was
it
great.
vividly.
Anyway, it was great.
I
No
was
matter
not a
what,
dancer.
no matter what, you loved it. So that's all that matters, right?
All that matters. This is a great
What matters.
opportunity. Um,
It's actually a really good point just to follow on to for the identity stuff is when we were kids, kids have no fear. And like we just unapologetically love things,
yes,
right? And
yes.
then somewhere along the line, it's like, oh, that doesn't make enough money, or that doesn't do this, or that's not enough power, like you mentioned before. So another good exercise would be like think about when you were a child, like what did you love to do? What brought you so much joy as a kid? And that will have information. Like I guess one, are you still doing these things? Maybe not. Maybe you've grown out of it, like you don't like it anymore. That's fine too. But there's probably some answers. Like we're not end syncing. I mean, if you want to go to town, we love that.
Yo,
But you still were
I
until like a
am.
month ago. But no judgment. That's amazing. But I think there is information there, like things that you loved as a kid that brought you happiness, brought you joy, all of those things. There is look to that because there is something there that will tell you like who you are as a person, not
Yeah,
what you do, that who you are as a person.
precisely. Yeah. Do you want to know
Anyway,
what I did
just wanted
last
to check
night?
that. Yeah, 100%.
I have it in front of me.
Stop.
I was working on a puzzle, but I painted one of my empty pill bottles.
How do you paint and do a puzzle at the same time?
I had to do layers of paint, and so I let a layer dry, and then I was doing puzzle, and then I did another layer, and I let that dry. Anyway, I wanted to do something
So
nice
good.
for the planet. Instead of just throw away empty bottles, and was like, when I grow my marigolds this year, I'm gonna dry the seeds from the marigolds and store them in a container.
That's perfect.
Right? But it makes me really happy to like paint and draw and color. And
because you're so creative.
not even. I just like.
You actually are though. Like,
Oh, thank you.
just saying.
Thank you.
I need to paint a picture, you would die.
I would like you to paint a picture, please.
Okay. All right.
Please,
I'll find
thank you. Okay, but seriously,
Sorry.
like,
Yeah, getting off track.
try re-exploring the things you did as a kid.
Mm.
I feel like, and I talk about this so much on my personal Instagram, is we forget how to play. We forget how to play and engage that inner child. And that is so much of unapologetically, unabashedly, perfectly who we are.
Mm.
And when we remember that, everything gets easier. Everything gets more joyful. Everything gets just like elevated a little notch when we bring that joy and that childlike wonder back into our lives. We get rid of the judgment and the I have to do this all the time and be so serious. Like you don't.
You don't.
You
And by
just
engaging
don't.
in that play, it helps you. Like that will help you find who. Like if you have no idea who you are, like what you were saying, if you're sobbing in the aisles of Target or TK Maxx or wherever you were, like playing and exploring will help you. Because you'll be like, oh, I don't know that. I didn't enjoy that. That's not who I am. Or like, oh my God, I love that. Like that. And that will give you messages too.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
Absolutely. And then
important.
the more of that you can bring into your everyday existence, the better. Like, you
Mm.
best believe I am dancing around my house making up songs. It's who I am. It's what I do, and it's magical. And it
Imagine if
makes
we
me
just had little
dang happy.
cameras on in your house.
A lot of the time it'd be super boring, but sometimes it would be very interesting.
Very interesting. I think I just want to add one more thing before we sort of wrap up, that it relates back to our breaking expectation episode. I can't remember what number that was, maybe 3.
Oof, I don't know.
But yeah, I'm not sure. I think it was 3. Society and culture add a lot of expectations on us to be things that we're not. And that is specifically related to jobs. So there are things that we think we should be, what we think our life should look like. And we do start to make that the identity because it's what we think will appease people or what we think will make people happy. So I kind of want to talk about this, and maybe you could listen to both, close together or something, or go back and listen to the breaking expectations, because if that's something that's holding you back of becoming who you want to be rather than what you do, if it's the expectations of others, family, society, we spoke about all of that, that's a really important message too. So don't let what you think other people are going to be happy to hear you say stop you from being who you truly are.
Yep.
I think that's an important one to make.
There's such a tie from identity to cultural, familial, societal expectations. And it's when we let go of those expectations of other people and really tune into ourselves that we find our true identity. We just have to let go of those.
Mm-hmm. And don't let other people, it's going to be a lead into our next episode, but think about the people that you're hanging around with. Because if they let you be unapologetically you and identify who you really are, they're the people that you should be near, not people that bring you down.
Yes. Yes.
Yes'm. Yes'm.
Yes. I started writing about our next topic in our Trello board today. And once I got started, I couldn't stop. Like, I had to literally stop myself because I was like, this and this and
I'm so
this and
excited.
that. Oh. You're going to look at it. You're going to look at it and be like, Katie, what happened here?
I feel like we should just end and do that right now.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's all tied together. Everything we talk about is really closely knit and
100%.
tied together into all of it. And the biggest part of it is, at the end of the day, we want you to be unapologetically yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The end.
The end. Thanks so much.
Thanks for listening.
Like, I want to say that was short and sweet, but I actually don't know how long that was.
It was shorter than last episode.
Perfect. Love it.
We'll talk soon.
Talk soon. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.